I walked into the room, folder in hand, ready to expose the family betrayal no one wanted to admit, truth about stolen money that shattered us all. Hey there. Thanks for stopping by today. Whatever you're doing right now, get comfy and ready to dive into a story that might hit close to home. Today's tale is about someone facing a painful betrayal, being accused by their own family and fighting to reclaim their truth. Have you ever been in a situation like this or felt that kind of hurt? Stick around and watch how our main character, Emily, finds her strength and rises above it all. And hey, if you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means the world and keeps these stories coming. Thanks so much for being here.
I never imagined that a simple tradition, the annual Thanksgiving dinner, would become the moment everything I'd known about my family shattered like fragile glass. I remember the chill in the early morning air as I loaded the last of the pumpkin pies into my car, its warmth nestled beneath a faded quilt I'd borrowed from my mom's house. Driving 3 hours through a foggy highway, I rehearsed the words I'd say, how I'd pretend everything was normal despite the undercurrents of tension I'd been sensing for months. My name's Emily Carter, 34 years old, forensic accountant by profession, and I prided myself on being the dependable daughter. I was the one who fixed Mom's computer, set up her online banking, and reminded Dad to take his meds. Or at least, I thought I was. Pulling up the driveway, the house looked the same, warm yellow lights spilling onto the porch. The faint smell of roasting turkey wafting through the cracked open window. I carried the pie inside, just like every year. But as soon as I stepped through the door, something felt off. The usual greetings, the laughter, even the scent of cinnamon felt heavier, almost suffocating. Before I even took a breath, my dad's voice cut through the silence like a sharp knife. "Emily," he said, eyes cold, voice low, "return the $50,000. Or don't come back." The room froze. I was holding the pie still warm from the oven, the one I'd baked from Mom's old recipe. For a split second, I thought I misheard him. Was this some kind of cruel joke? But the hard stares of my sister Megan, my brother Ryan, and my mother Linda told me otherwise. The unspoken accusation hung in the air, thicker than the Thanksgiving gravy. That night, the warmth of family was replaced by a cold mistrust that cut deeper than any winter chill. The night I left my childhood home, the silence in the car was deafening. The fog outside the windshield seemed to mirror the haze clouding my thoughts. I wasn't just processing an accusation, I was unraveling years of complicated family dynamics I'd been too busy to notice. For years, I'd prided myself on being the golden child, the reliable daughter, the rising star. But beneath that polished exterior lay cracks I'd ignored. Megan's sharp glances, barely disguised resentment. Ryan's subtle barbs, thinly veiled as concern but tasting bitter like grudges. And Mom, caught somewhere between denial and quiet despair. In the solitude of a cheap motel room, I let my guard down. The little notebook with Mom's passwords, the kitchen drawer left unlocked, the family keys that weren't just mine, all these small details suddenly screamed caution. Had I been naive to think that trust was given freely within my own bloodline? To clear my head, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through messages, some unopened, many read but unanswered. Megan's text from earlier that day lingered in my mind. "We didn't want it to come to this, but you made it hard to trust you." I stared at those words, feeling the sting of betrayal sharpen. The idea that financial abuse could happen inside a family was terrifying. I recalled articles and Reddit threads I'd read in late nights scrolling through r/relationships and r/legal advice, where people shared stories eerily similar to mine. Siblings exploiting parents, siblings framing each other, greed disguised as family loyalty. That's when I reached out to Sarah, a close friend who specialized in cybersecurity. Over steaming mugs of coffee in a downtown cafe, we talked in hushed tones. "Emily," she said, her voice firm, "you have to think like they think. If someone is covering their tracks, they'll hide in plain sight. Family secrets are the hardest to uncover because people expect trust, not betrayal. Her words hit home. If Megan and Ryan were the culprits, they had probably crafted an elaborate story to isolate me. But there was one thing they couldn't fabricate: the truth buried in numbers and timestamps. I spent the next days replaying every moment with Mom. The way she looked when I set up her online account, the careful way she wrote down passwords, the casual way she left the drawer unlocked. That same drawer that everyone could have accessed. But the emotional weight was crushing. I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting for my name, my reputation, my very place in this family. Late one night, I sat by the window of my motel room, notebook and laptop in front of me, sipping on bitter coffee. I pulled up financial documents and security protocols, slowly connecting dots that, until now, had been fuzzy outlines. My mind flashed to Megan's laugh when she dismissed my promotion as just a job, and Ryan's silence when Dad suggested I should live a little. Those moments seemed trivial back then, but now they whispered secrets I could no longer ignore. I knew I was walking a tightrope. Accusing family of theft would break more than just hearts. It would break us. But I also knew that silence would kill me. This was my line in the sand. The morning light spilled cold and unforgiving across the worn motel desk as I dove headfirst into the investigation. I had always trusted my instincts, but now they were sharpened by months of experience unraveling corporate fraud and embezzlement. This was personal, but I had to treat it like any other case, with patience, precision, and relentless pursuit of the facts. I began by analyzing the bank statements Mom had sent me after my last visit. Patterns emerged: 3 large withdrawals over a few weeks, each just under the federal reporting limit. That immediately raised red flags. It was a classic method to avoid detection. Using a mix of contacts and resources, I managed to access the bank's internal surveillance footage. The videos were grainy but clear enough to reveal the identities of those making the withdrawals. The first video showed a woman in a gray hoodie, nervously glancing over her shoulder before approaching the teller. The oversized sunglasses hid her eyes, but her signature was unmistakable. Megan, my sister. The second video showed Ryan walking into the same bank, exuding a calm confidence, signing documents like he owned the place. I sat back, disbelief colliding with a cold sense of betrayal. These were the faces I grew up with. The people who had once stood beside me on the porch, laughing and dreaming. But this wasn't just about money. It was about a carefully orchestrated plan, designed to isolate me, to paint me as the villain so they could escape scrutiny. The more I dug, the more I realized they had used my own goodwill against me. Setting Mom up with online banking wasn't just a favor, it was the perfect smokescreen. Further investigation revealed that the online access wasn't even from Mom's phone. The login IP came from a tablet connected to the same Wi-Fi Megan used to binge-watch Netflix. Even the recovery email and phone number were linked to Ryan. I contacted James Thompson, a compliance officer who specialized in elder financial abuse. After reviewing the data I shared, his response was grave. "This is fraud, Emily. What you're dealing with isn't just theft. It's a betrayal of trust that runs deeper than money. Be careful." I wasn't just battling numbers anymore. I was confronting the very foundations of my family. The late nights blurred into early mornings as I compiled documents, screenshots, and signatures. I cross-checked handwriting samples, pieced together timelines, and prepared for the confrontation that I knew would come. There was no turning back. The drive back to the house felt like crossing into enemy territory. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows over the familiar street where I'd once felt safe. The folder of evidence lay heavy on my lap, every page a silent testament to the fractures beneath our family's surface. I parked at the curb, heart pounding, not from fear, but from the raw determination that had been building inside me. I wasn't the frightened daughter from that Thanksgiving night anymore. I was armed with truth, and I intended to make them listen. The front door opened before I could knock. Megan's eyes flicked over me, sharp and unyielding. Ryan appeared behind her, arms crossed as always, a faint smirk playing on his lips. Mom lingered in the background, fragile, her hands trembling as she clutched a dish towel. The house smelled of chicken broth and rosemary, but it wasn't home anymore. It was a battlefield dressed up in ordinary clothes. Without preamble, I laid the folder on the kitchen island. The wood was scarred from years of family meals, cookie dough rolling, and whispered secrets. Now it was the altar of our reckoning. "You believed I stole from you," I said softly, voice steady despite the storm inside. "Let me show you what really happened." I spread out the photos from the bank security cameras, the hoodie, the sunglasses, the signatures. Megan's handwriting. Ryan's calm confidence on the teller's slip. A silence fell that was heavier than any shouted argument. Megan's fingers tightened around her coffee mug, her knuckles whitening. Ryan looked away, eyes fixed on the floor. Then Megan's voice broke through, sharp and bitter. "You always get everything, don't you? The job, the respect, the approval. I just wanted to even the score." Ryan added, "It wasn't personal. It's business." I swallowed the sting. To me, it was always personal. It was my family, my trust, my life. Mom's voice was barely a whisper, filled with regret and pain. "We didn't want to believe it. Not about you." Her eyes never met mine. Instead, she stared at the folder like it was the source of her heartbreak. The room felt suspended in time, each of us caught in the gravity of our choices. For a moment, I saw not enemies but lost souls, trapped in a web of bitterness and misunderstanding. But the damage was done. The words I had long feared echoed in my ears. "You're not our daughter anymore." It wasn't spoken aloud, but it hung in the air like a curse. I took a deep breath, closed the folder, and met their eyes for the first time in days without flinching. "I'm not pressing charges," I said quietly. "But the truth is out. You can decide what you want to do with it." Mark, my father, nodded slowly, weariness etched into his features. "What are you going to do now, Emily?" I paused. The answer was clear. "I'm going to live my truth," I said. "And I won't let this break me." I left without another word. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison of broken promises. Back in my city apartment, the silence was both a balm and a burden. The echoes of that confrontation reverberated in my mind, mingling with memories of childhood laughter and shared dreams. But I knew that chapter was closed. Weeks later, a letter arrived. It was old-fashioned, a handwritten note tucked inside a worn envelope. Inside was a photo from years ago, Megan, Ryan, and me on the back porch, dressed in mismatched Halloween costumes. I was the scarecrow, Megan with tinfoil wings, Ryan painted red. On the back, a single line. "We didn't know how much we'd miss you until you were gone." No signature, no apology, just the weight of absence. Life moved forward, but the ache lingered. I channeled my pain into purpose. Inspired by my own ordeal, I launched a weekend seminar at the local community college, Financial Protection for Older Adults. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt necessary. Teaching others to safeguard their money, to recognize deception, became my new mission. One Saturday, an elderly woman approached me after class. Her eyes sparkled with gratitude. "I wish I had a daughter like you," she said. I smiled politely, hiding the truth I carried. Sometimes, the family you choose is the one that truly matters. As December rolled around, there was no tree in my apartment, no calls from the family, no ornaments exchanged. There was only the quiet grief of a love lost, not through death, but through choices. Sometimes, people choose a version of you that fits their narrative, not the one you live. I still keep that folder. It's tucked away in a drawer, beneath old tax returns and mortgage papers. I haven't opened it since that night, because the facts haven't changed, and neither have I. Trust broken can be rebuilt, but not always with those who shattered it. As I stood before a room full of eager learners, I realized something profound. Strength isn't just surviving betrayal, it's rising above it and helping others do the same. And that is how I began to heal.
What do you think about Emily's story? Share your thoughts, feelings, or any reflections in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay tuned for the next story that's just around the corner. Thank you so much for listening all the way through. Your time means the world to me.